So this next bit's quite interesting in Teams, and I think folds into some things that Phil was saying about connectivity. And we're going to look at a couple of areas. One is how do we store documents in Teams, and if we're storing documents in Teams, how do we get collaborative in an exciting way within that environment? That means actually, although we're not in the same office together, we can actually work on the same thing at the same time, and that can really help with the whole motivation and progress. So let's dip into that. Hopefully folks out there can see my screen. So I am in Teams, and we're going to start off by going into my training team example. And in the channel, so within Teams, you get many channels. You can create as many as you like. And from the video earlier, you can see that was my alpha workshop channel and my breakout channel, etc. But we're going to stay in the general channel. And at the top, within the channel structure, you get tabs. And I've gone into the Files tab, which is always the second tab across within the Teams environment. And within Files, here we can store documents relating to the channel within the team. So that could be documents that anybody needs to access. Anything that you post to a channel, the documents will get put into the Files section of that channel, as well as included in the actual post itself. We can put files in here very easily. We can do that by dragging documents across. So I'll show you this now. If I take this Excel book 1 and I drag it into this area, you can see it's going to copy it in. And when I let go, you get an uploading section there, and there you go. There is my Excel book 1. And I can do the same with a Word document here and just drag it in. So we can put files in here very easily. And as soon as we do that, that's accessible to all of the team within that channel. What we can also do is create folders. So if we wanted a structure, I'm going to really very boringly call this folder 1, but we can put folders within the files area and create any folder structure we like. The other thing that we can do here, so this is within the Teams area, and within Teams and Files, actually it stores this information in OneDrive, which sits in SharePoint. It's a bit confusing because I'm going to show you a few things that touch on and talk about both OneDrive and SharePoint. As far as you're concerned, you just need to see them as the same thing. So OneDrive is a mechanic that sits within SharePoint. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sync this file section. And what that does is that syncs the file section with OneDrive on my computer. And once it's synced, I can then take that folder structure on my PC, and you can see that it's replicated. So it's got folder 1, it's got book 1, and it's got test teams training. So anything that I put in here appears here on my PC, and anything I put here on my PC will appear here in my folder. So I could create a new Word document, Word Doc 2, and if we watch the screen, at some point when this synchronization finishes, it will then appear within the Teams space because it's the same space. So here we can work in areas that we're familiar, and it replicates over here in Teams. It will do, it is still getting through. If I just jump out of here and go back in, because the Teams replication is a little bit odd, you have to come out of it to go back into it to see, but we can now see Word Doc 2 has appeared. So that's quite exciting, that's quite interesting. If you look back at this though, you'll notice that these are cloud pictures on the status. And what that means is that these documents are not stored on your computer. So if you unplug your computer from the network, you won't be able to open these documents. But you can right click on them and you can say, always keep on this device. And that means that if you take your laptop and unplug it from the network and go somewhere, you can still access that document offline, and the next time you plug into the network, it will synchronize with the Teams folder so the whole of your team can see the changes that you've made. So that's a very quick whistle-stop tour through that bit. Synchronizing documents, how to put documents in folders. I think the thing to say here is that at the moment, prior to coronavirus, most people lived with documentation on servers, and because their documentation was on servers, when they were away from the office, it was difficult to get hold of. Also on the server environment, it wasn't always that clear who had authority to the folder that you were looking at. The nice thing about Teams is that we can always see who's got access to any channel or team by looking at the managed channel, managed team areas, where it can see who's got access to this. At the moment, I'm the only person in this team, but you would see, and if there was a protected channel, you would be able to see who's got access to that protected channel.